Alright guys, I just want to give a quick update on the Benjamin 397S. This is a 10 pump. Technically it can do 10 pumps in 177. It's also sold in 2.2. I think that's called the 392S. Not really something that you're going to see in Woodstock anymore. Pretty much synthetic configuration, which is fine for me. I can deal with it. I would have preferred the wood, and this is really just meant to be a mid-update. I'm not really ready to give you the full once-over. In fact, I'm going to switch out the Optic in a little while here. I'll explain that more. But I'll tell you what I've done thus far and how it's working out for me. When I got done with the iron sight portion, I painted the front sight. I messed around with that out to a little over 100 yards, and actually it was very effective. It's a cheap front sight, but it was very effective. The next thing I did was inside, I actually put a little bit of Velcro, the soft side, just because it quiets down the pumping. And so when you go all the way out and back, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I try to be soft on the gun. I don't want to wear this thing out too fast, and that quiets it down for one, because it is kind of noisy. It snaps kind of hard. It's just plastic against metal, and I think it just smooths it out. It's not so rough on the internal components. I do put a little bit of oil in there. I'm not going to open it up again, but inside there I put a little bit of oil. It's recommended in your manual where you put that oil. Don't put it in the air breather hole, which is what compresses the air. It like sucks it in there and compresses it. You don't want to do that. So I've done a little modification there. Sometimes I shoot this with a bipod, and so I put a Picatinny piece on there at the very end. It actually holds up really well. Make sure you do a little pilot hole and then put in a screw so you don't crack your plastic if you do dare to do that. You'll probably avoid the warranty, just warning you. The next thing that I did, I also put on this scope base. I think you probably saw that in the previous video. Put on this scope base here because otherwise you can't mount optics to it effectively. The other ones kind of put too much pressure and tension between the barrel and this combustion chamber, whatever this is called, the pressure chamber here, the tank. It separates the barrel off, and so you would have to have it brazed again, and it just doesn't seem like a good plan. So I went with this one, which just puts pressure for the most part on that upper tube, kind of clamps onto that, and it does a really good job. It has come loose a couple times, so I did need to Loctite it. That's another thing I did, is Loctite it. Now the trigger was a main complaint last time. I think it's a terrible trigger, absolutely awful. I cannot believe that they released with this rifle with such a terrible trigger. So when I was first getting it, it was pulling around 5.5 to 6 pounds. Just sickening how terrible it was. Creepy, long, you had no idea when it was going to break, and the over travel was so far, and the firing process is so slow that you would jerk your shots left and right, just up and down. It was pretty hideous. And so one thing I did is I took the mechanism apart. I can't show you right now, but I did bend the spring a little bit, which brought the pull weight down to 3.5 pounds, which is survivable for me. I don't think that's adequate, even so, but it's survivable. And then I also drilled in a set pin here in the back to stop it from over travel so far. And so actually, from the point of actually breaking, it's still creepy for sure, but I know when it's going to happen, and I know I'm not going to over travel more than less than a 1/16 of an inch. I've got it so tight that I can't even quarter turn that screw without stopping the trigger. So it's a good over travel stopper. That's an easy enough thing to do. Just had to drill a hole in the stock tang, rather, right here. So it does pretty well. The Optic, I've got this primary arms. What is it? A 4-14? It's a 4-14. It's a mil reticle with the R grid, so you get. Technically, you could use about 16 mils from the reticle, and then with the scope rings, I don't have 20 MOA built in, and so I'm not getting a lot out of the turret. This only has 17 mils of internal travel, or 18 mils of internal travel, anyways, which is not enough to shoot an air gun really far. I just wanted to test out where it's at so far, and so far it's definitely worth it. Shooting a little bit beyond 150 yards. That's the max extreme I can get to, unfortunately, with this little guy. It was still pretty accurate, though. I was surprised. With no wind, kind of how it is tonight, 0 wind, it did pretty well. And so I'm planning to go ahead and throw a 34mm optic on here, and that's going to get me out quite a bit further. That optic in particular has like 32 mils of travel and 10 in the reticle, I think. And so I'm going to throw that on there. I like the rifle. I'm having a really good time with it, especially on a night like tonight where there's no wind. Nothing has broken on me so far. I'm still annoyed with the loading process. I really wish that they had a slider to go through here so you could, or a magazine, quite frankly, so you could quickly go through rounds and pump it, but you know, it's kind of a slow shooting gun. That's what I do with it. Let me go ahead and I've got a target. The 65-yard target is actually 1-incher, and then the 80-yard target is a 10-incher. It's a really big target here, and then in the hundreds of yards, you won't even hear that. And so I think I'll shoot one at 65 yards. It's a 1-inch target, and so that's not big for most people, especially for a gun like this. That's really, really impressive to have repeated accuracy, and I haven't missed it yet tonight with these wind conditions. So I'll go ahead and, in case you're curious, that's 4.5 mils with 8 pumps, and 8 pumps is kind of what I stick to when I'm inside of 150 yards, just for like brevity of pumping, and then also consistency. It seems pretty good. So I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna find this target, 1-inch target, 65 yards. That's pretty good. So every time it's making contact out there, I think that's really impressive. I have not had a pellet gun yet that is this consistent, even with these slow speeds. I bet you with 7 pumps, I'm probably pushing the neighborhood of like 730 for FPS. So anyways, guys, I'm impressed. I like what I'm seeing so far. I have some critiques. I definitely have some criticism. I would bring the Benjamin over the rifle, the least of which being the trigger, like that. Oh my gosh. But I have some good things to say and some impressive shots to show you. So I think this is actually going to work out to be a neat long-range project while I wait for ammo prices to return to sanity, basically. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop it down below. Comments, do the same. Please like, share, subscribe, and do all that kind of stuff. It helps my channel stay alive, and it helps YouTube keep this in circulation. And it also grows kind of the precision airgun market in a new way. A lot of guys are into PCPs, but now everybody wants to pay PCP prices for that kind of garbage. It's just too much. Mosquitoes already out. Oh my gosh. One nice day and the mosquitoes are out. Not everybody wants to pay PCP prices. Not everybody wants to go through CO2. Some people are looking for something like this that they can just take out. It's got everything on board that you need and still hit pretty good, you know, targets out to a couple hundred yards, honestly. I think this is going to be, I think it's going to be worth the time.